Hi, this is Robin Podorf. Thank you so much for checking out my video. This tree in Four Seasons was really meaningful to me because my mom is an artist. And as I've gotten older, finding ways to connect with her through her art has been really important to me. We spend a lot of time bonding and chatting and connecting as we do art. And I've actually found my artistic voice too over the years, as she's really encouraged me to do more arts and crafts and just be creative. It's really therapeutic, I find, and a chance for me to just really take a break and relieve my stress, and time flies when I do these projects. So this is the final project, the final result, and I will go step by step. So it was really interesting. I needed a large table. My dining room table was sufficient, and I ended up buying 4 canvases from the art supply store, as well as some of those little pom-poms on the bottom right, which I ended up using for the fall section of the tree. And then the other art supplies, which included these really cool paint brushes. They are kind of like pens, but you can brush onto the canvas. And then of course, watercolor and brushes rather. So I was able to lay out all of my supplies beforehand in a very clean surface, which was like I said, my dining room table, and then I was ready to go. So the first thing that I did on the left is I put all the canvases together, and with a pencil, I drew the outline of the tree, which was really helpful. So therefore I had a way and an area in which to paint, and it was very clear onto where I needed to go with each of the seasons. So each of the 4 canvases represented fall, winter, spring, and summer. So I went ahead and I started, and I had my supplies right next to me. I had my watercolors as well as a small glass jar with water that I kept refilling when needed, when it got dirty, and the watercolors I used throughout the whole project. They were one component and one material that I used. And so on the right, I started with drawing the trunk of the tree, and the brown watercolor with a few white highlights were created for that. I then went on and started doing the fall, which was the bottom right portion of the tree and the right canvas of the project. And I used different variances of the different variety of colors from my color palette from the watercolors. And I also used a couple of the paint brushes from my paintbrush kit. And I just got creative. You know, there was no rhyme or reason. I didn't really have a clear set in my head. I just started to go for it. It was really easy. I'm actually suffering at the moment from carpal tunnel, so my hands are really, really sensitive, but this was very easy to do because the paintbrush was really light and it was very easy to manipulate. I then moved on, and using the outline for my spring canvas, I opted to use the colors that were really vibrant, the pinks and the purples and the reds. And again, using my watercolors and staying within the traced outline, I did the spring portion of the canvas. I then moved on using the same techniques and did summer, which I opted for a green palette. Again, I had talked to my mom a lot about some of the color choices, and we agreed that the green for the vibrancy of summer would be great. So I used the watercolors and the paintbrushes and filled the water container when it got dirty as needed, and then painted summer. And this was a picture that I took sort of midway through the project. You can see I had my coffee. I was very much enjoying myself and relaxing. I had used the computer to look at a couple of images as examples, and then the watercolor and paintbrushes and water were there, easily accessible to me, and I was in a comfortable dining room chair. And then this was the first initial final product before I added the natural elements, and I ended up letting it dry for about 12 hours. I just didn't want to upset any of the watercolor painting, and I wanted it to be very ready for all of the natural elements that I would add. I then used some of the stems from my, some flowers that I had on my kitchen counter, and I took some of those stems off that I was going to use in the summer portion of the tree, and just took a couple of those, really easy to access because that thing of flowers was right on my windowsill, and I was getting creative and using those stems for that purpose. I then went to my backyard, and I love this beautiful bright pink tree that grows right near my backyard, and so I was easily able to reach up and grab a couple of those flowers. I then went to my front yard and grabbed a couple of the purple flowers that were on the ground and some of the purple, actually they're more of a magenta from the tree next to my neighbor's house. And then from the bush, I took a couple of the small sticks that I used for the bottom portion of the tree. And so these were my supplies that I had gathered from my front yard. And then at the art supply store, I had bought a couple of these pom-poms, which I thought would be a creative use and would be interpreted sort of for fall leaves. And so I wanted, because I knew this season I wouldn't be able to get any of those natural flowers or representation in my yard. So I wanted to get those from Target. I then inputted all of those natural elements into each of the seasons. So as you can see, fall, winter, spring, and summer each were represented by the beautiful pink flowers and the purple flowers and the pom-poms, etc. And then at the very bottom, I used the sticks and some of the leaves that I'd gotten from my front yard for the bottom of the tree. And so this is the final product. And the one on the left was without the little stems from the tree at the bottom, and the one at the right, I included everything. And so that was my final project. My mom and I, again, really bonded over this. We were getting really creative together when we were trying to figure out the best option for me to do for this project. And it was great to talk to her about it. It was a chance for us to bond. It was a chance for us to get creative together. And I'm gonna definitely hang this in my house. I think it's really cute, and I think it represents something that was really fun for my mom and I to do together. It was not any physical strain on me, especially with my hands. The canvases were very light and easy to manipulate, and all of the materials were very easy to find in my yard and to adhere to the canvases. So thank you so much for listening and watching my video. Thank you.